In the photos released to the public, Princess Anne and Queen Camilla often appear side by side with polite smiles and impeccably measured gestures. Yet behind the closed, gilded doors of royal palaces, a quiet but potent confrontation has been unfolding, not loud, not flamboyant, but powerful enough to send ripples through the very heart of the Windsor household. On one side stands the iron-willed Princess Anne, the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II, revered for her tireless dedication and her no-nonsense honesty. On the other stands Camilla, the once scandalous mistress who has ascended, against all odds, to become queen consort and the official wife of King Charles III. According to several leaked royal insider reports in recent weeks, the relationship between Anne and Camilla has moved from frosty to outright tense. Camilla, emboldened by her elevated title, is said to have increasingly asserted herself during family meetings, even going so far as to restructure traditional roles that Anne once held. A former royal aide revealed that Camilla has repeatedly leveraged her position to influence decisions on ceremonial protocol, attire, and even official statements representing the royal family. For Anne, a woman shaped by military discipline and guided by a deep sense of duty, Camilla's growing dominance was more than unwelcome. It was a declaration of war. Public silence, however, did not equate to private submission. True to her reputation for speaking up when family honor is at stake, Anne reportedly confronted Camilla in a closed-door meeting at Clarence House after being excluded from a key royal event overseen by the Queen Consort. What followed was said to be a heated argument, one that electrified the already tense air in the royal circle. But what shocked courtiers even more was the reaction of Prince William, a figure known for his diplomacy and reluctance to engage in internal conflicts. As the heir to the throne, William began what insiders have called a soft intervention into the brewing war. According to a trusted palace source, he met privately with both Camilla and Anne, attempting to mediate, but also to clarify the real boundaries of power and influence. Though he is the son of King Charles and stepson of Camilla, William remains the child of Diana, a woman who was deeply wounded by Camilla's presence in her marriage and in the public eye. This time, however, the issue touched a nerve far deeper than titles or appearances. It was about justice versus indulgence. Between two powerful women with clashing histories and personalities, whom would William side with, his aunt, a figure of strength and loyalty who protected him through his formative years, or his stepmother, now queen, seated at the king's right hand and wielding soft power behind palace walls? His decision wouldn't just affect the dynamic between Anne and Camilla. It would be a defining signal of how William, the future king, intends to shape the balance of power within the monarchy. And as the heir finally breaks his silence, the royal landscape begins to shift in ways that will not be easily undone. To fully grasp William's hesitation in aligning with Camilla, one must revisit her bruised legacy, a past that William has tried to bury but never truly forgiven. In 1993, the British public witnessed one of the most infamous scandals in modern royal history, Tampon Gate. A leaked recording between Charles and Camilla exposed their affairs while Charles was still married to Princess Diana. In the private call, Charles was heard saying he wished he could be a tampon to remain inside Camilla, a comment so shockingly intimate it set fire to the tabloids and ignited public outrage. For Diana, it wasn't just the collapse of her marriage, it was global humiliation. And for 11-year-old William, it was trauma. He heard it, he understood, and he remembered. Though now an adult trained to smile through public events with Camilla at his side, Prince William has never fully let go of the bitterness. To the public, Camilla may have been rehabilitated over time and crowned queen consort, but to William, she remains the woman who inserted herself into his parents' marriage, who caused his mother to endure years of loneliness, tears, and ultimately, a tragic death in Paris in 1997. Camilla is not just part of a painful family history, she was the eye of the storm. William has never hidden his discomfort with how the royal family treated his mother. In 2001, during his time at St. Andrews University, a private conversation leaked in which he reportedly confided to a close friend that he considered giving up the throne, adding that he didn't believe in the system that destroyed his mother. It wasn't the outburst of an angry young man, it was the raw confession of a son who had witnessed the palace's cold indifference to his mother's suffering. And it is precisely this that makes William such an unpredictable figure, a future king who could uphold tradition, or tear it down if he must. William's intervention in the tension between Camilla and Princess Anne was not merely a matter of family dynamics. It was a clear signal that he is beginning to question the very order he is destined to inherit. In the wake of allegations that Camilla used her status to sideline Anne, the aunt William has long admired old wounds began to resurface. To William, this wasn't just about the present, it was a continuation of injustices never truly resolved. To side with Camilla would be to validate a past he has never accepted. But to stand with Anne, the iron-willed woman who once stood by Diana against the cruelty of the palace, would mean openly challenging the authority of the queen consort. And this time, William knew no matter what he chose, this was no longer a mere family decision. It was a turning point, one that could either restore or further shake the public's trust in the future monarchy. If unwavering loyalty to the crown has a face, it is surely that of Princess Anne. In a monarchy often rocked by scandal, her steady presence has become a moral anchor. As the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Anne has long embodied sacrifice, discipline, and a sense of duty, values increasingly rare in the modern royal generation. Never one to seek the spotlight, never one to ask for special privileges. Princess Anne has consistently undertaken the highest number of royal engagements, year after year, often surpassing her parents, and later, even King Charles. She doesn't chase media attention. Instead, she quietly appears where few notice: local hospitals, care homes, remote charities across the UK. But make no mistake, behind the modest demeanor is a sharp strategist, a silent mentor to younger royals, especially Catherine. As William and Catherine grow into the central hope of the monarchy's future, Anne has been quietly guiding from behind the scenes, helping Catherine grasp the essence of royal duty, not fame, but service. Insiders often say that much of Catherine's growing strength and polish in her role as Princess of Wales can be attributed to Anne's discreet advice and steadfast presence. Their bond is more than personal, it is strategic. Anne is passing down the values once instilled in her by her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, ensuring that the monarchy remains anchored in the principles that have sustained it for generations. But not everyone welcomes that influence. For Camilla, who spent years fighting to gain public acceptance and has now officially ascended as Queen Anne's growing sway, may feel like a quiet threat. Where Camilla represents a new model of royalty, softer, more adaptable, and skilled in image management, Anne clings to the old guard stoicism, action over words, and a refusal to complain. This contrast hasn't just created distance, it's become fertile ground for conflict, especially as both women now occupy roles of near equal symbolic weight. Sources from within the royal household have begun to shed light on the quiet yet mounting tension between two of the monarchy's most powerful women. Camilla is said to have requested adjustments to several ceremonial roles long held by Princess Anne under the pretext of a royal restructuring. While such moves might appear administrative on the surface, royal watchers have interpreted them as an attempt to curtail Anne's sphere of influence, a woman whom Camilla knows commands deep respect, both among the public and within the Windsor family itself. It is this contrast in style, in background, and in the hearts of the British people that has fostered an unspoken power struggle between Anne and Camilla. It hasn't played out publicly, nor in dramatic headlines, but among those familiar with the inner workings of the palace, it has caused more than a ripple. As Anne's influence continues to grow, especially through her close alliance with Catherine, the future face of the monarchy, the pressing question becomes, can Camilla maintain her position as queen consort without feeling increasingly threatened by a woman she's never truly been able to understand or control? In July 2025, Clarence House, once a symbol of smooth royal succession, became ground zero for a dramatic confrontation that sent shockwaves through the royal institution. According to a senior insider speaking anonymously for security reasons, what began as a strategic planning meeting among top royals quickly devolved into a tense exchange between Queen Camilla and Princess Anne. Amid an already fraught atmosphere thick with political pressures and public scrutiny, Camilla reportedly launched an unusually sharp verbal attack. "You no longer hold a central role in the modern monarchy," Camilla is said to have declared, raising her voice in front of senior aides and palace secretaries. "Your constant backing of Catherine, pushing her into the spotlight, is only making things worse. You're becoming an obstacle, not a supporter." According to someone present, the room fell completely silent at the sheer weight of her words. As queen consort, Camilla was expected to uphold the composed and dignified conduct long associated with the Windsor tradition. Instead, she chose confrontation, an unusual, if not shocking, approach that many interpreted as a bid to sideline Anne, the only royal woman she could neither influence nor diminish. The meeting, sources say, was cut short shortly after a few staff members, including a longtime aide who had served Queen Elizabeth II, expressed discomfort, even raising concerns that a line of authority had been crossed. This was not just a personal quarrel. It marked the culmination of years of quiet but profound conflict between two women who represent completely different strands of royal identity: Camilla, who rose to power through patience and political acumen, and Anne, who has always measured her worth through duty and honor. True to form, Princess Anne did not let the matter rest. According to a trusted source at St. James's Palace, she confronted Camilla directly the following morning. "No audience. No spectacle. You may be queen consort," Anne reportedly said, her tone cold and deliberate. "But I am the daughter of a queen, and I do not fear power that relies solely on a title." The words, delivered with characteristic steel, were said to freeze the air in the room. In that same exchange, Anne warned that any attempts to bully or diminish members of the family would not only cause internal fractures, but also further erode the already fragile trust the public has in the monarchy. Princess Anne has never been one for palace politics, but when necessary, she knows how to wield her credibility like a sword. And this time, she was far from alone. Following the Clarence House incident, a quiet shift in palace loyalties began to emerge. Several private secretaries, communications advisors, and aides, many of whom had worked with Charles during his time as Prince of Wales, quietly reached out to Anne's office, and even to the Wales household, to express their support. The internal machinery of the palace, once a seamless operation under the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, is now showing visible cracks. Camilla, in the aftermath, is said to have withdrawn from several non-essential meetings over the following 2 weeks. She remained silent in public, refrained from speeches, and avoided attending any events where either Princess Anne or the Princess of Wales would be present. But her silence did little to regain control. On the contrary, it deepened the perception of isolation and unease within the royal circle. Royal commentators have begun speaking of a growing silent divide within the palace. On one side stands Camilla, the embodiment of compromise and pragmatism, someone who has navigated the complexities of modern monarchy through calculated survival. On the other are Princess Anne and the Wales family, defenders of a royal identity that carefully blends traditional values with a modern sensibility. In this quiet tug-of-war, the accusation that Camilla bullied Princess Anne acted like a spark thrown onto dry timber, pushing tensions to their most unstable point since the death of Princess Diana. As speculations swirled about what truly happened at Clarence House in July, the British monarchy found itself once again confronting a difficult dilemma: how to preserve an image of unity when the cracks within are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Could Charles, already weakened in health and diminishing in influence, hold the line, or would he allow this silent conflict to fester, slowly dragging the institution into a confrontation from which it might never fully recover? Camilla may carry the title of Queen Consort, but Anne, through public respect, a lifetime of service, and the symbolism she represents, has begun to exhibit a power that needs no crown. And if Clarence House was merely the beginning, then what lies ahead may be far more dangerous than a single dispute. William had his suspicions. For months after the jewelry theft incident at Clarence's house, a quiet unease had been growing inside him. It wasn't just about the missing item. It was how Camilla had reacted. Cold, controlling, almost contemptuous. It didn't resemble the concern of a family member. It felt more like someone hiding something. And then, on July 10th, 2025, the facade cracked. One of Princess Anne's most trusted aides approached William discreetly. It started with a whisper. "There's something you need to know about what Camilla has done." William froze. Then the aide handed him a dossier, handwritten notes, internal testimony, even audio recordings. The documents detailed how Camilla had systematically bullied new staff members, even those close to Catherine. There were accounts of her mocking Catherine's wardrobe, criticizing her speeches, and even restricting her access to official royal engagements. William said nothing at first, but according to the aide, his eyes looked as if a velvet-covered dagger had just pierced him. A few hours later, he requested a private meeting with Princess Anne at Kensington Palace. No protocol, no attendance. Just the two of them and a truth that could no longer be avoided. Anne was direct. She confirmed everything. Every calculated move by Camilla to consolidate influence, including reassigning loyal staff to weaken Catherine's support network. Anne admitted she had stayed silent, hoping the tension would pass. But when Catherine organized a charity event for Charlotte and Camilla sent an aide to inspect the preparations, Anne knew the line had been crossed. "I saw how your mother, Diana, was isolated," Anne said. "I won't watch it happen again." Their conversation lasted over 3 hours. As Anne left Kensington Palace, she turned to William and said something so chilling that even distant aides reportedly felt a shiver. "If you're going to do something, do it now. For Catherine, for Charlotte, and for your mother." By morning, a series of urgent meetings had been called. William announced he would step back from royal duties indefinitely. The press merely reported, "Prince William wishes to focus on his family." But the reality was far more seismic. Inside a sealed chamber at Clarence's house, William confronted Camilla. No Charles, no intermediaries, just two people, and a reckoning years in the making. "You thought I didn't know," William began, his voice low and razor sharp. "You thought you could manipulate everything, even my father. But you forgot one thing: I'm Diana's son." Camilla reacted as expected, sharply and with outrage. She denied the accusations, accused Catherine of inexperience, claimed Anne was letting emotions cloud her judgment. But this time, William wasn't backing down. He laid out the evidence, the audio, tone, the staff testimonies, even a handwritten letter from Anne confirming everything. Silence. At first, just stunned silence. Then she laughed, a short, bitter laugh. "You think a few scraps of paper can drive me off the throne?" William didn't answer. He pulled out one final envelope sealed in red wax, marked with Queen Elizabeth II's insignia. "My grandmother left this behind, a clear instruction, and you know exactly what it says." Camilla's face drained of color. No one outside the senior ranks of the royal family knows exactly what that letter said. But according to palace insiders, Queen Elizabeth II had made her message unmistakably clear: if any behavior were to undermine the stability or public image of the monarchy, especially if directed at the heir and his family, the individual responsible must voluntarily relinquish all royal titles and privileges. The game was over. 2 days later, on 13 July 2025, Clarence's house issued a brief but seismic press release. Queen Camilla will step back from public duties and relinquish the title of Queen Consort, returning to her previous title, Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall. This is a personal decision made after careful consideration in order to safeguard the unity of the British royal family. There was no apology, no farewell statement. But for Prince William, It was a moment of vindication, a restoration of honor for his mother, and the beginning of a new chapter in which he would no longer live under the shadow of palace intrigue. An insider close to the situation shared, he didn't do this for power. He did it to protect Catherine, to protect Charlotte, and to make sure there would never be another Diana. Outside the palace gates, the public gathered. There were claps. There were tears. In the golden light of a July sunset, a large portrait of Diana draped in fresh flowers hung from the walls of Kensington Palace. At the gates, a small handwritten sign read, "Your son did the right thing." When William officially stripped Camilla of all titles associated with royal representation, it was a cold, decisive strike, a symbolic blow to everything she had spent decades trying to build. Camilla couldn't breathe. Stunned, she felt herself unravel as though the ground beneath her had vanished, leaving her suspended in the void of a palace she once believed was the fortress of her power and legacy. Camilla had survived by enduring. She had accepted being called the other woman. She had stepped into the shadows so that Charles could play the part of a dutiful husband to Diana. She had withstood years of public scorn, relentless tabloid scrutiny, and quiet rejection from within the royal fold. But she believed that if she could just stay silent, be patient, and remain by Charles's side, eventually everything would be hers: the crown, the influence, and the recognition. Now in the blink of an eye, it had all turned to ash. One decision made by the son of the woman whose memory had haunted her for decades was enough to undo everything she had accumulated across half a lifetime. From queen, Camilla had been reduced to a bystander, cast out from the very institution she thought she had tamed. She felt humiliated, not just because she had been stripped of her title, but because she had been exposed in the heart of the monarchy as someone who wielded power in darkness against those more vulnerable. Now her actions were laid bare, and no one stood by her. And so, like a drowning woman grasping for a final lifeline, Camilla turned to the only person she believed might still save her, King Charles. That night, she went to him in his private chamber at Clarence House. There was no more haughtiness, no demands. Camilla knelt before him, her shoulders trembling, her voice breaking. "Charles, please, this will all help. This will destroy me. After everything I've endured, I don't deserve this." But Charles's face did not soften as she'd hoped. He looked older, wearier, and his eyes, once filled with affection and fierce loyalty, now held only the burden of a monarch trapped by duty, a man who had defended her more times than he could count, but who now had no ground left to stand on. "Camilla," Charles said quietly, "this is beyond my hands. William has made this decision as Prince of Wales, as the heir. He has the backing of the Privy Council. If I intervene, it will only bring more chaos. I can't," he finished. And for someone like Camilla, nothing could cut deeper than those three words. For the first time in years, she left Clarence House in silence, no motorcade, no security detail. Camilla walked through the London night like a shadow, no status, no confidence, no one behind her. But she wasn't ready to surrender. Not yet. There was still William, the one who had brought it all crashing down. She decided to face him. The meeting was arranged discreetly in a small drawing room at Windsor. Camilla arrived dressed plainly, trying to maintain a calm expression, but every step betrayed the unsteadiness of someone free-falling from the heights of royal dignity. William entered. He didn't shake her hand. He didn't greet her. He simply sat, eyes fixed on her. "William," she began, trying to sound gentle, "I just wanted to say, if I've done anything to upset you, I'm sorry. But everything you've heard, it's not exactly the way it's been told. I never meant to insult Anne, and I certainly never meant to hurt anyone. You know that. I stood by your father for years. I stayed with the family through every storm. If you just reconsider your decision." William listened in silence, then shook his head. "Ma'am," he said, deliberately formal, deliberately distant. We all had chances to do the right thing. You chose not to, and now the consequences are unavoidable. Camilla blinked. You're punishing me because of Diana, aren't you? William stood. No, he said firmly. I'm protecting my family and the honor of the mother who can no longer defend herself. The meeting ended there. Camilla left once again, this time with reddened eyes, though still without tears, because she knew once William made up his mind, no one could move him. And then there was only one person left. The one Camilla had once dismissed. The one she'd sneered at as cold, joyless, trapped in the royal machine, never truly in the spotlight, Princess Anne. With no other choice, Camilla humbled herself and sought Anne out. For the first time in her life, she understood that among all the Windsors, Anne was the one untouched by vanity, uninterested in crowns, and yet quietly powerful in ways that no one dared underestimate. They met in a small garden behind Balmoral Castle, where Anne was enjoying a short summer retreat. Camilla had nothing left to hide. Anne, she rasped, voice hoarse, I know I've made mistakes. I'm only asking. Please speak to William. I can't lose everything like this. I can't live as an outcast. Anne set her book down. She didn't smile. She didn't scold. She simply looked at Camilla for a long, silent moment. You've lived too long under the illusion that you're untouchable, Anne said quietly. Now reality has finally come knocking. But if you truly want my help, I will speak to William. This one time, not to save you, but to preserve what little remains of the monarchy's image in the eyes of the public. Camilla nodded, lips pressed tight to keep herself from breaking down. And with that, Anne rose, adjusted her coat, and walked away, steady, composed. No promises, but no dismissal either. Left alone in the stillness of the garden, Camilla realized when power is gone, the only thing left is forgiveness. And that was something she wasn't sure she still deserved. Then came the final decision. At a closed-door meeting at Kensington Palace, there were no arguments, no raised voices, no tears, only a suffocating silence. William, his face calm but eyes cold as steel, informed the assembled advisors and close family members Camilla's title of Queen Consort would remain but in name only. No privileges, no authority, no honors attached. Just a title, a fragile facade maintained for the sake of appearances. Wait, because the Prince of Wales understood all too well that if there was anything left worth protecting in a monarchy already fractured by years of turmoil, it was honor. An honor that could no longer be traded away to clear the path for personal ambition. An honor built through blood, sacrifice, and the silent endurance of women who were buried beneath tradition, most notably Princess Diana. This decision was not about revenge. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. It was a closure, the end of a long, tumultuous chapter, so that a new one could begin, one guided by clarity and conviction for the future of the royal family. William chose reason over emotion. He chose the people's trust over political arrangements. As for Camilla, the title she now carries has become a daily reminder of her true standing. She may sit upon the throne, but no one sees a queen. She may walk beneath the lights, but behind her looms the silhouette of another woman. Brighter, more beloved. Eternal in the hearts of the people, Diana Spencer. Diana never needed a throne to be remembered. She never required a title to earn her place in history. All she needed was a sincere heart, a mother's gentle smile, and eyes that carried sorrow but still looked toward the light. That is what made her the Queen of Hearts, a title no coronation could ever grant, and none could ever take away. And Camilla, after all the scheming, the years of patience and calculated restraint, she is left with a bitter paradox called a queen, yet never truly seen as one. Crowned, yet cast in shadow, a faint figure behind the everlasting radiance of Diana. A shadow no title can erase, no power can redeem. And so, The British royal family has once again weathered the storm, but this time the hand on the helm is not that of a king. It is the heir, a son, a symbol of transformation, and the greatest hope for the House of Windsor's future.